can create cards that you can kind of add to it instead of typing into like a discussion board or something.
Okay.
Hi everybody.
Hi, sorry for popping in a minute late.
Oh no, that's fine. I was just showing. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I'm talking actually through my laptop, so my voice is coming through my laptop. So I have my headset turned off, but I'm in my avatar headset up front. My avatar that's in the laptop is sitting. So there's two of me.
That's a good way to avoid that weird audio issue.
I know Terry helped me figure it out. We spent like a good hour or so that one Friday, and if I just turn this on, like I don't have to worry. But then I like being in my headset as long as the battery doesn't go down. But we can get started. What I wanted to show you guys is some of the research that I've been doing. I work in higher education, but I'm really fascinated with the whole concept of using IVR classrooms, immersive virtual reality classrooms, in the educational setting. And so I've been studying teaching presence and how to investigate the use of those classrooms, because a lot of times what happens, and I'm sure you guys all see this, there'll be a tool and people will just push a tool into something and not think about the process or the pedagogy behind how we actually effectively use it. So I've been studying teaching presence for that purpose. So what I wanted to do tonight was develop an experience for us that would be like, show the elements of teaching presence, and dive into some cool topics like how were classrooms set up in 1940s in 2 different countries. So I've got a picture up here, and I did these with ChatGPT. I basically put in prompts. I mean, it took me a while to get just the right images, and I also did it for free, so I had to wait I did 3 images and I have to wait until the next day. But what you see up top here is a version of a classroom in the United States universities for astronomy. And on the other side is a version of that same classroom in Tokyo, Japan in the 1940s. So you have to also kind of take into account the history happening at the time. We were just coming out of a major war between these 2 countries, and their curriculum was quite different. And then on the back side, I also did this with ChatGPT. It is an image of a classroom that it imagines for 2040. So we moved back from 2020, to 1940, which is almost 100 years, and then jumping ahead another 20 years from now, what are we imagining an astronomy classroom to really look like? Now, this is just the imagination. I mean, but we can tell what it actually was in the era of 1940. So what I was hoping to do is if I was to set this up in a university classroom, I would engage the learners in coming in, instead of doing a discussion board, but come in and look at images like this, maybe doing a little bit of research on their own, but not. Why is that moving? Pause that. There we go. What I would, instead of going in and typing in a discussion board, but coming into a room like this, you can create cards and they can put their insights, like what they're seeing. Because that's what we started doing in 1940. We started to break away from that whole concept of just having someone in front of the class, like I'm doing now, and moving it to inquiry-based. Getting them to think about a topic first, then start to tie in the actual research and evidence and things to that nature. In 1940s Tokyo, they were still focused on the whole historical step-by-step memorization learning. In 1940 United States, they were starting to bring in inquiry-based. And that's what you're seeing in this image with the big telescope. What they basically would do is they would have the students start to try to observe the celestial bodies, like where they're located, and try to map them out. Then compare that and assess what they found with the actual maps. Instead of in Japan at the time, they were still just teaching everybody, here's where the stars are instead of using inquiry based. So that's what I'm trying to show here is the experience of just seeing a classroom being different, and even in different countries. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Like, say I'm kind of going into speech mode. But
no questions at the moment for me.
Okay, cool. So what has anybody else studied teaching presence before? Do you know what I mean by teaching presence? Well, teaching presence is something that's part of the community of inquiry model or framework. Has anybody heard of that before? Community of inquiry model or framework?
I haven't heard of it. I've heard of presence being studied in XR, like how it being immersed, but that sounds like you're talking about something different. Is that right?
Somewhat. You probably have heard of social presence. We use that term a lot, especially with immersion, and they're starting to build on that in a lot of the research. Where the community inquiry model started, it is based on three types of presence. It's social presence, cognitive presence, and then teaching presence. And it really started with just online education text-based, being able to take like the discussion board data and analyzing it. But we're like taking it beyond that. But what I've done is in my research, I'm just focusing on the teaching presence scope. But it's probably similar to what you're saying. It's just in different categories. But teaching presence is actually divided into three elements. We would start with design and organization, and this is where we of course design the learning experiences, bringing in instructional design techniques, active learning interactions, which is what I want to do, especially when we get into the learning rooms. Let everybody explore and interact and talk about it together. And then, of course, instructors making sure that there's an instructor presence for feedback and clear instructions. So this is kind of a foundational piece to get started to build them. But then there's two facets to whenever we actually get into the learning experience. Of course, there's direct instruction, and then there's facilitating discourse. So they both have their weights, but the direct instruction is more bringing in the expertise to the discussion, basically diagnosing and clarifying misconceptions. I do this a lot working with students one-on-one, having to listen to where they've been trying to learn on a topic and figuring out where are they falling off the course. So that's a lot of the direct instruction and supporting critical thinking with feedback. And teaching presence doesn't have to be just with a person standing in front of a class. Teaching presence is also considered the presence of teaching even amongst the peers and the peer learning. And then, of course, facilitating discourse, creating a discussion. So those are the elements, and I just put them up there for us to kind of think about as we go through the process of the activity. So you can think about, oh, okay, that is what we basically experience there. And just to kind of pull it in, like what we would do in a university classroom, because it's clarifying the learning goals or objectives. here's basically the goals that we would have in this particular learning experience, like analyzing the historical and cultural context. Students will research and analyze the characteristics of classrooms from a specific era, learning domain, such as astronomy and country, e.g., the USA or Japan, and then apply that analytical to an argumentative skills. Through that, we would basically be critically discussing both sides of an argument. So this is where we really dig deep into not only developing an awareness of the different concepts, but how do we put this together in an argument? So the question or the argument that we're going to pose here is, I have this up here over here in the middle of the U.S. and the Japan picture. Should basically we're going to take on the role of, we're part of a consortium for education in Japan and the USA. So this is during the 1940s. The time frame is 1940s post-war. The light keeps moving. I thought I had kept them still. They must be like attracted to the energy or something. Like some of the stuff.
I think that was me. I accidentally moved him.
Oh, did you move him?
Yeah.
You did? Oh, okay.
I think you can lock them.
And that's okay if you
there
move
we go.
them. That's totally fine. You can. I mean, I wondered though. I was like, are they like floating towards people?
No, I was just adjusting my view.
I liked your responding to the energy response, though. That was a lot of fun.
Wouldn't that be cool if that was the case, right? Like this guy back here, he's floating out of the chair.
It's a VR poltergeist. Woo!
Yeah.
They just aren't locked in. So if you like rotate your view around, you wind up accidentally moving things. Like that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Everything's fine. It means you're exploring. Which I love that.
Right? His hands on.
This is like speed dating. Like instead of a dating app, like here's the choices, right? All right. So what we would have done again is had everybody explore. The students would explore the pictures, start to develop their assumptions. That they may want to test, like looking between these two pictures, the Japan one and the U.S. one. What do you see as a major difference between these pictures? Does anybody see a difference that they kind of can tell just by looking at the two pictures or the two scenes?
The one that represents the Japan is they're less interactive. There's fewer people like standing up, and they're more passively sitting and listening.
Yep, and writing, right? So teacher centered. It's all centered on this one central person. Does anybody else see anything that's different?
The telescope tool in the USA classroom. There's a globe in the Japan classroom, but I think it's kind of more regarding mapping, opposed to like actual tools for observing.
Exactly, and that was something that was brought out when I was having fun just researching because I mean the history of it. After the war, the U.S. had a lot of tools that Japan really didn't have at their disposal in the university classrooms. So in the U.S., they had radar and really good telescopes that they could bring in. Besides the fact, now not all the universities were getting into the inquiry-based learning. A lot of the universities were still doing like what Japan picture was showing here, of literally here's the mathematical equation, here's the steps, and then they just basically are repeating that back and memorizing. What they did focus on was making sure that they were really, really good at the mathematical concepts. As opposed to in the US, it was a lot about exploration that they were really trying to bring into the classrooms, especially with a lot of the technologies that they had, from the war at their disposal. But isn't it cool, like, to see it also 3D than just the picture? Like, you kind of pulled that out a little more, didn't you? Because you just saw two guys sitting at a desk, and this guy's basically trying to look through a telescope, and what the lesson that was explained that they would be doing is they would be looking in out of the telescope and trying to map out what they saw, then taking that and assessing it with the actual documentations of it, instead of like told this is it, and this is what you need to memorize. So it was kind of interesting, the differences between the two. What about this big picture here with the over on the left for 2040? What do you see that's different there from those classrooms? And I guess, but what jumps out at you first? What do you think you could probably do in that classroom that you couldn't do in the other classroom? Kind of like what we're doing right now. What are we able to do here today that we probably couldn't do in just a physical classroom like we would have, regardless if it's in another country?
Talking about this.
You want to hear one perspective, it comes down to like interactivity and observing on your own rather than like being there's like a certain model about that, like where teachers can teach the students and so forth. Can't remember the exact term right now, but like there's a model where teachers will teach the students in that perspective, but then there's also where you can turn it around, where you can have like students kind of learn on their own and bring it back to the teachers. So that's the whole thing with like interactivity, where you can let the students explore on their own and possibly learn more on their own actually, and bring it back to the teachers. So that's one thing where I got from the difference in the classrooms. I think with telescopes, you can like have the students explore on their own a bit and explore the stars. The Japan approach is good, but it's kind of falling back on the like perspective where you're having a teacher teach you math and so forth and numbers based on space, but not have much interactivity. So that's my summed up thought there.
Oh yeah, and that's totally cool. Does everybody else agree with that too, or?
I'll add to that. I think that there's more room for like spatial awareness and understanding, kind of the magnitude of these things. Just kind of, I guess, maybe being able to like mentally picture that a little bit more clearly, being able to actually see the planets for yourself or planetary bodies and just kind of understand like a little bit greater how far away they are and how massive they are. Like it's, just kind of getting like a better spatial awareness of those topics. And not like, I mean, even going beyond like just simply astronomy, but thinking about like other topics, like if you have the equipment or the ability to explore and manipulate and feel and I guess just literally get your hands on something that makes a topic a little bit more tangible, a little bit more real.
So it's more your tactile, like
Yeah,
Tactile
not necessarily, not limited to that though, but like just I guess being able to use all of your senses um, more than just listening to someone tell you something or seeing it written on a board. Like just being able to use your other senses to, I guess, create like better spatial awareness and more like, I guess, a more real learning experience, something that grounded in more than just like a nebulous idea that someone told you about, I guess. I feel like there's a word for that and I just can't think of what the word is.
But that's great. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking
for that.
Oh, sorry.
The dolphin. Can't remember. On what were you trying to speak dolphin or was it Yogi?
Yeah, I was trying to say something. I was going to say that when I look at that picture compared to the other ones, I feel like the students are not limited by the space anymore for whatever they can bring to the classroom, but it's like they can interact with the content outside of their physical surroundings.
Very cool. What about the whole concept that we can bring cultures together? Like we're all coming from a lot of different places, right? It'd be really hard to get us together tonight, but we are. That's the part that really excites me. Is the fact that we can break down those geographical barriers and like I would like the insights that each one of you guys have I'm now learning from that I wouldn't have been able to learn from before. So that's pretty cool to me. But so 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 that yes, putting the content, interacting the student and the content together, and we call it cognitive dissonance in online education. Whenever you have everybody at this distance, and even I see it as a distance even with the content because people will get into what's called um, circular monologue in their minds on how something is and not getting that perspective. And to put it all in the same place, I think is so powerful. Does anybody else have anything to say about it?
This might be a little basic, but I was thinking about how we have a more tools to convey theoretical and like concepts like what the surface of the sun looks like that we couldn't ever as human beings go to see, and it'd be really hard to draw it on a chalkboard and really make it very effectively communicative. So like just the tools being able to really visualize or virtualize these concepts. So sorry.
Sorry guys, I'm still here. Somehow I got kicked out with my avatar. Getting back in. Using. Okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's so cool. I mean, we're in a really cool time, especially now that people are getting more and more aware of this and the fact that we can really advance learning. Now, what I want to do next is I want to split you guys into two groups. I created the whole concept. You know how you have breakout rooms in like WebEx, creating two different rooms that you can go into and explore. They're virtually the same experience in both of them. When you enter, you're going to spawn inside of like one wing of the free room that I was able to get. And on one side is going to be a box classroom, and you're going to know which one's which. One's the USA, and the other side is Japan. So we're going to take these pictures and literally see it more 3D, and I have some research in there too. So the why I want to split you all into two different groups is because one group, I want you guys to focus on how you would side with the argument where should we approve a comparative study of a USA-based astronomy classroom and a Japan-based classroom within an immersive virtual reality environment? Meaning, should we bring two of these classrooms together during the 1940s within a virtual reality environment for learning? Now, those of you that are for it, you can look at the research or even your own beliefs, whichever. But I have some research there that you can look at too. So those of you that are for it are going to try to build an argument together for it. The other group is going to look at the research and try to build an argument against it, like that we shouldn't bring them together. And that's up to you, whichever. And then when we come back in, we're at about 8:30. I'm thinking like 10 minutes to kind of go around and talk and just pull in some ideas. When we come back, we can talk about whether this is a good idea or not. Does that all sound good? Is everybody on board and understand and find that cool to do?
Yep.
We used to be able to clap in like noises. All right, so what that behind you, if there's learning room 1 and there's learning room 2. There's 2 portals. So what I'm going to do is Yovi and Unreality and Terry. Yep, there's 3. Okay, you guys, I'm going to send in learning room 1. You guys are going to be for it, okay? Then I've got, I'm not sure what your name is, Beaver. I can't see. But Beaver and Tristia and Jay, you guys are going to go to learning room 2. You guys are going to be advanced. Now understand you may intrinsically be for it, but for this activity, we're going to work on, like looking for building an argument either for or against. So if you're in 2, you're against it. If you're in 1, you're for it. Is everybody ready to try this out?
Sure.
Can you repeat who's going where?
Oh, I'm sorry. Terry and Yovi and Unreality are going in 1.
Okay.
And then Christia, Jay, and I'm not sure what your name is, Beaver. You guys are going in 2. You guys are against. 2 is against. 1 is for. 1 is looking for building an argument to approve it. And the other 3 are going to build an argument to say, no, we should not do that.
Okay.
Wow. This is like a museum, like a classroom museum. I can't hear anything yet. Oh, okay.
Hello. What was the objective again? We're supposed to discuss. Is it written here? Instructions. Okay, here it is. You're part of a consortium for education in Japan, USA. should you approve a comparative study of USA-based astronomy classroom and a Japan-based classroom within an immersive virtual reality environment? Should you approve?
So we are the
Comparative
argument against. So we're arguing that we should not approve a comparative study of US-based astronomy classroom and a Japan-based classroom within a virtual reality environment.
Well, I mean, I have my own thoughts on that. I think, like, I guess, I mean, what I'm thinking of this is that like a comparative study is meaning that
Yeah, I actually had to step away for
that.
Sorry. Yeah,
So,
I had to step away for a minute because I had a crying baby. But I'm trying to make sense of it. I guess for this demonstration, VR classroom technology is available to the level it is in 2025, but it's 1940s. Yeah, I'm kinda a little lost on what the argument is against. I don't know. I kind of read research as a hobby, so like any research is good research to me. If you want to learn something, um, uh, yeah, I guess I'm just kind of struggling to understand the activity.
yeah, I'd probably go for it personally in my own.
Yeah,
But I mean, like,
I mean,
I know, like, just from my like experience, I think that like Japanese are like really rigid on like um what's the word for it? Like just customs, I guess, like customs,
mhm.
you know. So like they're,
And
I
social
don't know,
hierarchies and things like
yeah,
I
like that's the
yeah.
thing with like Japan, or like kind of really based on hierarchies where like they have really old people in like top positions still, you know, when they should be not. But like I don't know, I don't really agree with that personally,
Well,
but
we haven't had a president who was born after 19 what 60 something for the last
yeah, no, I
ever.
know, but like, I'm kind of getting towards like the corporations, like the free companies out there, like the, you know, the ones that are like actually companies, you know, not like going towards politics really, but like when you look at like actual companies, there's not many like really ancient people in like CEO positions. So like that's the difference between like American and um, Japanese, where like they have like really old people still in like top positions in their companies, but it's kind of holding. I've been like kind of like reading a lot about this and like um, watching videos about it too, because as you know, I've visited before, traveled there in my on my travels, and so like I know that I just have a big passion about Japan, but like I know they're held back by their technology sphere um because of that, like they have like all these people, old people in the positions of CEOs, whereas like the United States has more younger people positions like CEOs, because it's just completely different cultures, you know, where Japan has like that hierarchy based on like older people are held more as like more
They have a lot of
Yeah.
elderly respect.
Yeah,
They're
respect.
using suffixes like son and there's other names that you would put an honorary o prefix before, like grandmother, grandfather, mother, father, depending on like who you are and who you're talking to. Or even older sister, older brother, ne-san, one-san, oni-san, like depending on, yeah. So it just their whole, like, even their linguistic culture of honorifics kind of definitely demonstrates that for sure. I would think like that would play out like in the classroom that and what I witnessed there when I was an exchange student. I mean, it was more than 15 years ago now, but like from what I saw, like the like at least at the university level, like classrooms are a little bit more traditional, and I think that we saw that in the images that Terry that Angela provided. So I think that might affect how virtual reality would be used in that environment. But I guess if we're just like thinking about like the activity and what they're asking for, I would, I mean, relationships at that point post World War II. I mean, the 1940s, immediately after World War II, like things are still pretty shaky between USA and Japan. So, yeah, I mean, Japan just recovering from 2 nuclear events. It's hard to imagine this scenario, I guess, for me at least.
Yeah, I mean, so that's like some good reasons why I think like Japan would probably disapprove. Like this is the whole point against the approval of the study. So
I can't think of anything beyond political arguments, I guess, like, and just what I'm guessing relations were like at the time. But otherwise it's like hard. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, kind of hard to think about that in that angle, I guess, because of course we're like Americans and we're trying to be switched around to like thinking of like the Japanese side of things, but I think that's probably what they would have to think about though if you know I love Japanese culture and I'm kind of trying to think about like their side of things for like modern days we're like allies of course, but back then we had like completely different like goals and views on things. So I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of Japanese, like since like I've traveled there and so forth and met people in my country and trying to put myself in the shoes of them, like as opposed to like what things might have been like in the 40s or so forth. So really different, and I definitely agree with like what you said as well. So I think that's our answer. I mean, I don't know how if we're going to get back to a main room at some point here, but
yeah, probably. I think it's probably been about 10 minutes, maybe. I don't know.
The traditional cultural differences and the shaky like differences between the U.S. and Japan after World War II.
Just like relations after the war, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I would want to know, like, at least what is the comparative study trying to demonstrate? Like, what are the goals of the study? But that might change what my argument, but
Well, yeah, there's like a lot of information here we can look at. Probably the goals aren't like clear until the person that wrote them explains them. But yeah, yeah, I wanted to mention, I guess, like unrelated to this, that I saw your post on like the I think it was like related towards Horizon Worlds and their educational coverage. So that's kind of cool to see, because I saw that today actually, like, and I posted about it on LinkedIn. So yeah, like I think it's a good
It
I think it's
might
a
have
good thing,
been
you know.
you that shared the original post. I think I was just reposting something. Was that you, or were you? You mean you responded to mine?
It was from someone else, but
Yeah.
like the point is like, you know, like the point is like, I'm glad that Meta's getting on board with like the educational like aspect of headsets and so forth, and like this kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
like really important, you know. So
I actually was just looking up. This guy put out this live stream just yesterday on Horizon World's new desktop editor. Oh, I can't put the link in here, of course. So
yeah,
I guess it's
all links.
yeah, it's Justin P. Barnett's channel. Here's the title of the video. I'm sure if you search that on YouTube, you'll find it. But I just pulled it up to watch it. It's 2 hours long, so I was just gonna kind of listen to it while I worked on some client projects.
All right, yeah, I follow that guy's channel and so forth, so I'll look it up. Like, it's the next step in the direction of like the thing is with like Horizon Worlds, you had to be in the headset the whole time when you're building, so like that's not super ideal.
I think that's one of the things we were complaining about.
But
so seeing that they have like an offline editor now, I guess so they have the browser based editor. So I guess that's what I'm guessing that's what this guy is demonstrating. I don't know if it's like a separate app or if it's the same thing, because I haven't even seen anything about it yet. But so yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, we should chat about it after we look into it a little bit, since we were both working on that project before. I'm curious to know what you think about it if you get a chance to play with it. But yeah, maybe we should head back.
We go back to the portal here.
Yeah, I think it's this one here. See you there. I really appreciate all the setup that Angela did for this. This is pretty cool. I think it's a really creative use of the space. And like does a really good job of making it more immersive. She did great.
Yeah, I really like the immersiveness. I was like, when I first got in here, I was checking out this I think about Japan, of course. Like that's my main. I don't know. I love Japan, so this kind of drew my attention immediately. So like, look at this thing first of all back here, and yeah, it's just really interesting to see like the differences between different worlds. I watch anime a lot and so forth, so like, yeah, I mean, I'm really totally involved in both like cultures, so trying to find like a common ground, of course, between like education and two.
I feel like the arguments for definitely got the drew the long straw because we were struggling.
I think we were struggling too. I honestly thought of what felt like a good argument against, and I tried to figure out how to like address that to come up with a 4.
Well, what
I
was
think my against was to say that like I think that human evolution needed the more primitive stage of thought and education in order to be able to get to the point we are today, that we're like I think we needed to go through that. And so if we were to like thrust 1940s people into like this more like evolved and expansive way of learning, it probably would have broke something. I don't know. but so the 4, I think I like one of the one that I like clung to was like it could have prevented like some of the animosity and the blind like bigotry and stuff that caused war and conflict over the years, because it would have brought people together and helped them learn about each other in more than just the propagandized like generalizations of other people who aren't like you. So we could have been on the other side of the world like we are now, learning about actual human beings, and we could have like improved the general perception of each other's humanity, I think, had we had like tools where we could reach across the globe and be in the same room together.
That's awesome. You guys all came back. I went into 2. I couldn't talk when I went in there, when I was in 2, or actually both. And then I went in with the laptop so I could talk. And oh my gosh, is everybody coming back? So what did I miss? Was that a for side or against side? I think that was 4, right? Unreality.
That was how I came up with a 4 after initially feeling like there was like my main argument would be against, even though I was supposed to be coming up with a 4. That was like what I because my against was like I think that like humanity had to go through the earlier stages of like low tech education and sharing knowledge and learning these things gradually. Otherwise, I don't know. But yeah, so I kind of revised that to try and come up with a good 4. And that's what you caught the tail end of.
Does anybody have an opposing view to what she just said? Why we should do it? That we would have been ready for it? Or would have helped us? Maybe? Where's the ones that are opposing it? What kind of argument would you also have for opposing it?
I think that was the other part that you might have missed, was that Tristia was saying that it was easier to argue for rather than against.
Because we all love it, right? I did this in high school. I was actually the judge, and my teacher had us debating whether we should allow condoms in schools. This was back in the 1990s. It got so heated to where the people that were like, we had a nurse come on the stand, and that was one of our classmates, and everybody started getting mad at her for saying what she said against it. I had to like hit the gavel, and I was like, look, everybody, we all are just playing roles here. I was like trying to figure that out. It was getting bad.
I think what we settled on was
So,
just
what
large.
did you guys think of the rooms? What did you guys think of the experience in the rooms?
I think it's really awesome that like how much effort you put into like creating the experiences. It felt like being in like a live museum, I guess, and that's something that I've always kind of seen as being like really the real future of VR and not seeing a whole lot of. But I know that there are virtual reality museums and lots of experiences like that. But I guess for me, it felt kind of unique being able to like look out, not just see like objects, but almost reenactments, right? So I just like separately. Aside from the activity itself, I just thought like the experience was really cool. I appreciate all the effort you put into it.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun with it. And those Blackboard things, that was from ChatGPT too. Trying to, like, when I came up with understanding, okay, this Kepler, like I learned all about Kepler's law. I did not know Kepler's law existed. And, it's like some primal learning experience, like with mathematics, with astronomy. So then it was like helpful that ChatGPT could create the Blackboard, so it could look like there was actually Blackboard stuff up there. And then the Japanese lettering. So and just these images too. I wouldn't be able to create these without that. Like I would have to search and then feel. I mean, I guess they are. I guess people can say they could be copyrighted, but I mean, it's still, if it's, someone drew it out, I would have to probably, pay or whatever. But would anybody else find something interesting? What did you think of the research blocks? Like the whole concept of like learning that way?
I liked it from the perspective of a 3D artist who has built 3D environments for historical contexts before, and I understand the challenges of finding appropriate models, and that you have to make some concessions so that you can communicate the overall, the most important points of what you're trying to illustrate in 3D. So I really appreciated that too. That you could see from the elements that you chose to include and the historical details that you included, what was the relevant context we were supposed to be looking at. It kind of helps focus your attention, because otherwise you can get really caught up in what they call the Chekhov's gun thing in video games, where like if there's a gun in the scene, it has to have something to do with the plot, and so everybody, if it doesn't, then that's some kind of immersion breaking thing. But in this context, it's a lot less like, it's a more diluted or diffuse. It helps you focus on the actual question, the concept, rather than like, oh, this guy's got a backpack and
Yeah, I know.
It actually helps you focus more on the actual challenge or question and theory, rather than focusing on like. But at the same time, it lets you put yourself physically or mentally into this space. So it's a really cool combination of factors.
That was one thing too, was not being able to have the avatars be from that time frame, or like, because in universities it was predominantly male, and it's the sciences, but a lot of the options were female. So, but I was like, oh wait, I'm just gonna go with it, because the experience of seeing a classroom with students in it, I felt was so much more powerful than having it be that, like
and the things that you can't do like perfectly, perfectly historically accurate or whatever can actually lead to more discussion. Because one of the discussions that we had inside the space was the fact that there were a lot more women than probably were at these universities in the 40s. And you don't necessarily have to have gotten it, 100% accurate because, and I know because these 3D models that are available that are optimized enough to run in these XR environments are very limited, and it's usually like shooters and swordsmen and things like that, and it's not about like I have hit that wall a bunch of times. Had to work with real, with not real, with 3D artists, 3D character artists to come up with actual historical figures. But yeah, it was a good launch for discussion. Sorry, I'm talking over Jay.
I loved how you all were talking too. Like you all were engaged in different, even if it was just trying to figure out what are we doing here, because I have to say both groups went through that. I couldn't say anything because I was in my headset. I didn't have any voice, which is really strange. I don't know why. I unmuted myself, but anyway, but it was so cool to watch everybody kind of congregate together and talk through things and come up with different thoughts and ideas and perspectives and stuff. Like it was pretty cool to watch. Like after creating the experience, like to see people actually engaging.
Way cooler than with a homework assignment to do in your own room by yourself.
Yes, I've worked in higher ed for a while. Instructional design, different things, and I have what led me to IVR classrooms and was really digging in is everybody finding the insanity of reading and putting in these discussion board posts, which I think has some validity for critical thought, but it doesn't replace having conversations. Like, because it's like you literally are writing a whole paper. Here you go. Here, Jay. Now you respond to my entire paper with a completely formatted APA, back. Instead this like opening it up with that, and then like you said, experiencing it in a museum, like and seeing, like being connected with the content. One of the I've seen it also done. Sorry, I moved that. I don't know how I did it. I don't even have my controllers. But I've seen it even done with quizzing, like the whole class. They were in like a thing like this, and they would watch a dramatization and ask the question, and then they would talk, inquiry based. And this is so much we can do than just like you said, sitting in your room and trying to figure it out instead of having like pure contact. Because one of the if you study competency based, which is really big right now in higher ed or probably anywhere, the first step to building competency is vicarious learning. It's being aware of what you have to be competent in, but it's helpful if you're new to a subject that you're to be immersed with people that are confident in that subject. You're gonna pick up something. Because I was in a session where I was learning how to build worlds for Alt Space VR, and we were there, and this guy like just had a tree growing from his hand, and I didn't know that was even possible. And then I ran back after we were done, connecting in the classroom space and had to figure out how I could do that too. And that's when I learned about how you can pull objects in. I would have had no idea, but I was vicariously watching, it go down. So that's what excites me. Sorry, I'm going on and on.
No, I like that vicarious learning, and I think you're right. And especially in this kind of a situation where you're free to be quiet and observant and listen, and then
I hate it in the 2D because where I work for a completely online university, so we have to do these like groups together, and then they want us to go on camera. So I joke with my teammates. I say I have to have the standing team space because you don't want to, like, I don't know, like they watch your body language, and people are actually in the rooms that you don't even know. Like they're not in the participation list. They're like higher ups that are coming in to like watch you, and it drives me insane. But this environment, as your avatar, like I don't know, I feel a sense of safety too. Like I can interact and I'm not being analyzed for my body language. I guess I can give out what I want to give out, but I'm not in a 2D kind of system. So I think that's cool too.
Totally
Well,
agree.
I think we're at the top of the hour. Did anybody want to talk about anything more, or welcome to come back? I know until we have the next or whenever Terry wants to tear it down, but I mean,
yeah, our next speaker is Jennifer Ray Cameron, and we will leave this up for a couple weeks, just in case you want to come back. But then we'll set up for her. But yeah, this was great. You far exceeded my expectations, Angela. She was like 3 weeks ago. I mean, she did this really, really quick. I mean, this is so impressive. You impressed us. That's good.
The video that she showed was the original one that I was putting together, and that's the Bespokes. So if you want to come back another time or whatever, what I did with that one is I watched an engineering class in an IVR classroom, like studying what they were doing, and they were actually building tables. And it was so cool because, they were just in their own little space, but if they couldn't figure out how to put the leg to whatever it was IKEA tables or something, they could look at what others were doing because they were all building the same tables. So I created a somewhat similar concept with Legos. Like I got Lego blocks that were from Sketchpad, and I found a picture where you could make a duck. So it just to like demonstrate the whole concept of teaching presence, where it's that learning presence or teaching presence, that it's not just coming from the teacher, but you're having that vicarious, you're like, oh, they figured out how to put that together, or even discussing it. Well, wait a minute, maybe if I put this block with this one. And then on the other side was basically a version of these pictures and showing that we could create discussion boards with the notes to have people put their insights and their ideas and what they see in it. So like for interactive discussion that's asynchronous or not, asynchronous, where you don't have to be in the same time frame looking at it and talking about it. But thank you all. I found this fun. I was excited, a little nervous at the same time, but but this is what I kind of envisioned. I got the whole idea of the oscillating, like the circle, comes from. Did you guys ever go to like Disney World? I think they had it at Disney World and Disneyland, the Tomorrowland, that was actually designed by Disney, and you sit in a auditorium, and the thing goes in. Oscillates around you, and they show a kitchen, like say 1920s. Then you see 1930s, and they talk about it, like the differences. Like there's a point where I guess they had cords everywhere, and in the kitchen because they had all these appliances, and they just had to keep plugging them up. Kind of like what we're doing now, right, with all of our cords for that. And then eventually it all became seamless and built into the kitchen. So they moved us to, I don't know what it was, like 1960 or something. But he was showing how time moves on, and I thought, well, that'd be cool to like see that, like going around in a circle too. So that's where I got that from. It was Disney.
Early virtual reality.
Yes. The great creator, right?
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah, thank you. This was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, very creative. I feel like this was one of the most unique meetups that we've had, like as far as the like just the experience from an instructional standpoint. It's really cool. Thank you.
Thank you too. Luckily, we still have this particular scene because you have to pay for it now. The other one that I used is still free, but to have this cool sitting, so we're pretty fortunate to even have the frame or whatever. But,
yeah, interestingly, I actually so this is no longer on a pro account. I think we were using Nicole Papayano Lagera's link for the history of XR and LXD last four something years. Which, if you can believe it, we have been meeting up every month for about 4 years. And so big milestone for us there. But I actually got a pro account sometime last year when she let me know that she was going to cancel her plan. And I was not able to switch environments. Like I set up one link and I was playing around with some different environments. I switched it once and I was never able to switch it again. And I reached out to their customer service, but the issue just never got resolved and I wasn't able to cancel. So we just kept on using this link because the environment that I was kind of testing out over there was not really appropriate for meetups. It was like it just wouldn't have worked very well. Not like it was inappropriate. It was just like an island thing, and it was really small and just not good for this format, I guess. But I was never able to change it back. So, and I reached out to the spatial customer service. I might have missed an email that came through. I don't know, but we just, I had a lot going on last year with family edition and also I never got resolved and I still paid for a year for the room that we have not been able to use, unfortunately. But eventually I'll troubleshoot it and figure it out. But this link has been working pretty well for us and the room works pretty well for us. So so we've just been using the same link. So
I almost think everything's tied to the user because I had a old account, but then I hadn't gone in spatial in a long time, so I was working on my dissertation stuff and just fell out of it. And then when I came in, it was like they reset me everything, and then I didn't have access to my Ready Player Me avatar things so I was really upset because I was like always collecting all the free stuff because I figured one day that's not going to be free, collect what you can in your wardrobe, right? So then I was in that Candyland outfit, so I finally got my suit back, and because they finally integrated it back with Ready Player Me, so maybe they're working on some other updates that things will get a little better, but it seems like a lot of stuff is monetized, so as educators we kind of go free. But everything was pretty much free that I did in here. I use a Beyond account. That's how I make the cards. Now I do pay for that, but the ChatGPT stuff was free on that free account, and all the Sketchpad.
Yeah, I'm thinking even using like Canva to put together some graphics and little kind of, I guess, flashcards, like VR little kind of things that you could use that way. You've got me thinking about some really cool creative ways we could use the spatial space for future meetups, like rather than just screen sharing a presentation, which is what I always did. It's just kind of not living my values there, but sometimes we do what we do. But this was really cool. Thank you for all of the inspiration. And yeah, thanks Adjective Beaver for reaching out. I appreciate that. I didn't know we had like someone on the in in our group here, so I'm glad you've been joining us. It's glad to have someone in the cool crowd. Hopefully it's been fun. Yeah, spatial insiders for sure. hopefully it's been fun joining our meetups. I'm glad you're here. And yeah, thank you to all of you for sticking around and making this group what it is for the last 4 years. It's been really it's been an awesome journey. I think we all learn a lot together, and hopefully we can keep doing that. And yeah, thanks again, Angela, for sharing today, and Terry for organizing everything for us. Definitely doing an awesome job, and I much appreciate it, being that my time has been very limited the last few months.
Terry was amazing for this. I mean, when I first talked to her about it, I was pulling my hair out because I had a lot of stuff going on, and she was so patient with me. And then I think we met at least once, but it was a while because that's where we got the pictures and stuff. But she's definitely, I mean, we're fortunate to have Terry and everybody else, not just everybody else, but Terry. For this, I have to thank Terry.
Terry is the glue holding us together, for sure.
I like it, and I love how all of us like teaching each other and helping each other. It's like we're the perfect body. All of us together create great things. And Angela, you definitely win the listening award, because if I said anything, she created it. And I don't know how you had time, because you had your whole you had all the stuff you were doing. She did this pretty quickly, guys.
I'm running a half marathon this weekend. After this, I have to pack.
Of course you
I
are.
have to work in the morning. I'm teaching a class, then hopping in a car, heading to Myrtle Beach. I live in Virginia. Heading to Myrtle Beach, and then I'm running a half marathon. Been trying to train. It's been so hard because of the weather. But my husband signed me up. I told him this year, no, nothing more than a 5K, but obviously that didn't happen. So I gotta get through February, and then. But my daughter's also a senior in high school, so it's all that stuff's kind of ramping up to prom, and it's the moments that you want to enjoy, but I do feel stressed. So, all right.
Well, thank you guys. I gotta hop off, and yeah, have a wonderful evening.
See you next month.
Awesome. Bye, guys. Thank you too.
Bye, all.